Okay, so let's continue. In this video now we're going to go over fiber mesh and utilizing techniques we did regarding surface noise, show you how to apply fiber mesh into a new combination of what we just learned to something new that we learned. So let's go ahead and get started. Now first off, before we wonder what is fiber mesh is sort of like ZBrush's built-in hair rendering system. It can also be used for grass. And to give you an idea how it works, I'm going to go into solo mode here and kind of show you this piece. And we're just going to go to the right here and look where it says fiber mesh. And if you want to enable it, just simply hit the preview key. Now, as you can see, it's kind of showing like a dark little fuzz. So if you want to really see an actual preview of this, you can just go all the way up here where it says BPR and hit BPR render, and you can kind of see everything that you see there. Now, it's kind of a little furry to qualify for grass, but if you want to turn it off, you can turn it off. But remember, preview is sort of just giving you a preview of what it looks like. When we are done modifying the grass, we then go through the process of hitting accept to turn it into a subtool to which we can sculpt. So another thing that I want to go over is there are several ways to apply fiber mesh. One of them is going to be mask, but before I cover that, let's go ahead and talk to you a little bit about some of the parameters under the modifiers of fiber mesh. Now you see a whole bunch of these sliders and you're not really sure which one to go off of and what these all mean. So since this is beginner, we're going to just highlight the ones that are most important. Now, the first part is the max fibers. This dictates the number of fibers that we see in here. And it's a good way to do some fun little testing. If you kind of go through, you can kind of see a demonstration. When I turned down the max fibers, we saw less fibers. Of course, if we go through a render, you can kind of see what that looks like. But also something that's incidentally very interesting is that if I just leave fiber mesh on this way, scattered throughout, take note at the density and number of fibers. Now, if I turn preview off and hold down control and simply just do a quick little mask right here and then turn preview on, you'll see probably a denser group of fibers. And the reason that is because these fibers that you saw on here, they are scattered evenly across here. But if they're all bundled up into a small little mask, you're going to see it there. So to compensate that, you got to work with the fibers, max fibers, to get something that's interesting out. Now, having said that, moving on, let's go ahead and just go back into preview again. Another thing that's very important is length. Length is a sort of giving you the length of the fibers. You can kind of see a little bit of fur hair out of all of this. And finally, coverage. Well, not finally. Coverage kind of details into sort of like the thickness of the fibers. We kind of decrease these fibers a little bit and then turn up coverage, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. It kind of gives us sort of an edge extrusion thickness. Now, moving on, if you take note to how these fibers are all kind of divided up into like an insert edge loop here and an insert edge loop here, and it seems almost like there's a plane. Well, down here where you see segments, you can kind of change that and they'll kind of droop down, so you're going to have to go ahead and work on sculpting that back up. So I'm just going to go with just a kind of a simple default right there. Now these other ones like gravity, gravity is sort of something that less gravity, the higher it goes. But the only other thing that I'm going to talk to you about before we get into this is that you can change the color. Let me go ahead and first of all turn down the coverage and make make these guys thin again. And maybe give a few more of these. If you take a BPR render, you can kind of see the color of all of this, but if you want to change the color, like say white, you can change the tip and the base to white, and you'll see sort of a lighter looking representation for hair. So that's kind of a breakdown of all the important modifiers that you see there. So, pardon me, what we're going to do next is we're going to put 2 levels of fibers on here. One will be for like little nooks and crannies in here using the surface noise, and then we're going to kind of paint a little backdrop area. So let's get out into solo mode here, and let's go ahead and turn off the preview, and let's go through and hit surface, click on noise, hit edit. Let's go through here again and do what we always do, kind of maybe start off with a high scale with something like with a very subtle strength, and mess around maybe with the whole of the curves here, just to kind of have a little bit of fun, seeing if we can find something interesting out of this. And if you lose it a little bit, that's okay. Maybe something like that. Just kind of bringing it down, just building off of what we did before. We just kind of haven't done anything different. Now we're getting that projection, but I want to use a mask because, again, fiber mesh relies on masks, not actual projection sculpts. So let's mask by noise. And, you know, if we put fiber mesh on now, it won't really do anything. It's just going to kind of go through and give us, you know, wherever there's areas masked, it will project fibers onto. So let's invert the mask into all these areas here. And then, just for kicks and giggles, let's see how fiber mesh handles it. Turn on preview. We can kind of see a little bit of a preview on this. Let's now, going off of what we went over with the parameters, let's apply it all together. So I want to make this particular group a lot shorter, but at the same time increasing their numbers. So like for this, for example, let's do a BPR render, because we said that's what puts it. And you can kind of see already the fibers are showing up. Now, since this is a white background, I might do something like maybe go with a slightly darker color of hair, because it might contrast a little bit better and be easier to see. You know, you can kind of see it like that. All right, so let's just go through fibers, just maybe, let's just go ahead and maybe just add a little bit less fibers and do slightly wider coverage just to see what that looks like. And it's all just a game of, you know, just kind of seeing what it looks like. Let's work around the gravity and maybe turn the gravity up to kind of angle out these fibers so they're not perfectly straight. I mean, grass can be perfectly straight, but, you know. So we have a little bit more of an easier time with grass, so I'm okay with this. I'm just going to go ahead, maybe give it a little slight tweak on the length, and then just hit accept. Yes. Now when you hit accept, you'll see a new subtool shows up here. And of course, if you want to see it again, you can just hit that BPR render. Now, let's just repeat what we did and kind of create sort of like a back area right here. So what we'll do is I'll just kind of create sort of like a little back area here for fiber mesh to kind of come out on, and then we'll go through and we'll hit fiber mesh again by hitting first preview, changing the length to something a little bit easier. And maybe I'll make the tips a little bit wider. And we can kind of see a demonstration of grass. Now with this grass, I can say probably is going to be a little bit too high on the coverage, so I'll just lower that down and do another preview. Yeah, it's a little bit more grassy. Make that grass slightly to this point. Now that we have a little bit of some grass established, this could be a good time to go over and end with explaining things like, for example, the grooming brushes that are in ZBrush to help form the shape. If we take a look, groom brushes are here for you. You can do, for example, hair toss, which is a good one for like, well, first of all, I have to go ahead and make this into a fiber mesh and then go through subtool and select my longer hair. And if we want, we can kind of manipulate grass a little bit. If it gets a little tangly, like you see here, that's because of the fiber mesh segments, which is down here, is low. So higher segments will mean less tangles. Please feel free to experiment as much as you want, including groom lengthen, which kind of gives us a sort of, let me double click on that, sort of a groom lengthen look. And then from there you can do something like groom spike, but that won't behave like anything fiber mesh. That will just probably you can kind of just see like how that works. It just, and then doing a BPR render, you can kind of look, you can kind of manipulate things different. Now if I wanted to do, like, for example, hair, one thing I would say is I would turn up my segments, because when you try doing things like groom spike, you can kind of see how it kind of tangles like that, and segments helps with that a little bit. So this is now where you take the time to sculpt your character and your grass as you see fit. Maybe you want to have different variants of heights, so again you would go through groom lengthen to get there, you know, clump it in a little bit. You can certainly do that. If you want to have it like go straight up, in my opinion the best one is the groom hair toss. That one always resets the hair just exactly in the direction that you want, you know, so you can do a quick BPR render and kind of see how that kind of looks. But honestly, I kind of like just having the grass be like that just a little bit. I think that kind of gives me the look that I want. So with that said, that's how we do fiber mesh. That's the breakdown for the beginner. Alright, so there was a lot more to cover, and what my teacher always said, again, push buttons, learn, push buttons, learn, push buttons, learn. You got to be able to take that step to go beyond the confines of the video. So we've given you that map guide. It's up to you to drive and explore further. So I hope you do have some fun with this, and we've given you a good head start for you to explore and try all sorts of fun things. Maybe you want to have, for example, like a grooming lengthen of different pieces here. You know, you can do that. You know, we just want you to experiment and do your own thing. Now, from this point on, we're going to go ahead and show you a little bit about Decimation Master and how to retopologize count size in rocks so we can reduplicate the rocks across here. And then from there, we're going to go over to rendering. So with that said, stick around and stay tuned.